to Tell. Drama, a story to tell, Natasha Miller.
As American citizens, whew, my goodness, let me start over. As American citizens in an individualized society, we tend to take privilege of knowing someone for granted. We spend our lives seeking happiness by climbing the invisible ladder of success, failing to recognize the trials and needs of those we may encounter daily, yet without a social relationship beyond the word hello. So our journey in life continues for you and I, although sometimes we may ask why. We fail to realize that all we love and cherish can vanish right before our eyes, including those we simply ignore with the single word hello. After all is said is done, what is it that we live for? Was it our individual selves, our family and friends, our community and nation, or was it all of humankind? Trauma, a story to tell. Tonight you will learn a few facts about trauma, the aftershocks of trauma, and the recovery process. It was the summer of 2005 when I had the privilege of meeting some interesting people while working for Winn-Dixie in New Orleans, Louisiana. There was one woman in particular that stood out to me the most during orientation, Deborah Malachi. She was tenacious and driven for high achievements while simultaneously fearful for setbacks such as failure. At the end of orientation, we were to take a test and could only miss 10 questions. She was extremely terrified that she would fail and was the last one to finish, and ironically, she received the highest score. And although we were scheduled to work at 2 different locations, her and I exchanged numbers. Little did I know that soon trauma would occur and Deborah and her family would have a tragic story to tell. Facts about trauma. Trauma is defined as a disordered psychic or behavioral state resulting from severe mental or emotional stress and physical injury. According to experts, they estimate that 60% of men, 3 of 5 men, and 50% of women, 1 of 2, will experience at least one trauma within their lifetime. Trauma also has many faces: natural disaster, domestic violence, miscarriage, homelessness, to name a few. About 2 weeks after the arrival and departure of Hurricane Katrina, I decided to call Deborah. My heart was broken when I discovered that her family experienced the entire tragic event. They were at home when the levees broke and had to drag their luggage and children through the rising water, only to be stranded for days once they reached dry land at the convention center in downtown New Orleans. Could you imagine no food, no clean drinking water, no electricity, sleeping outside, and humid heat of about 100 degrees, lying next to people who were experiencing seizures and some even dropping dead? The levee shattered Monday, August 29, 2005, and the Malachi family, along with many others, did not evacuate the city until Thursday, September 1st, 2005, when the buses were sent for them at the Superdome. Aftershocks of trauma. Post-traumatic stress disorder, also known as PTSD, entails an extreme response to a severe stressor, including increased anxiety, avoidance of stimuli associated with the trauma, and a general numbing of emotional responses. People who often suffer from PTSD may experience the traumatic event by having recalls of the event or intensely upset by any reminders. They try to avoid anything that reminds them of the event or even the thought of it. And they also experience increased arousal, such as difficulty sleeping and concentrating. The board specifically stated, "We thought we were not going to make it. We thought we were left there to die." During this time, the Malachi family could not see that God had a greater plan and purpose for their lives. If you are wondering how the board Malachi is doing now, I'm happy to announce that she is well indeed. She is no longer in Malachi. She was recently married and is living life fullest at home in New Orleans, Louisiana. The recovery process. For those that experience a traumatic event, the first step is acceptance. Always accepting that the event happened, that it has been done, and perhaps the person is experiencing difficulties with processing and moving forward from the event. Therapy, which will be a safe space for the individual to revisit the traumatic experience, to learn to accept it, and to process it, where they can recross the memory and change the way they think about it and restructure their lives by getting involved in healthy activities such as Toastmasters, anything that has to do with other people being around them. And to also face their fears as far as the triggers, because trauma has memory. So whatever fears and triggers there are that come about from the traumatic experience. Oh, boy. I also had, I made handouts that I'll pass out to everyone that has all the facts that I've stated and the sources, as well as the board's testimony on the back. And I will have a book released next year about Hurricane Katrina. And I didn't realize it was this hard to talk about it. In conclusion, let us not wait until catastrophic events occur before realizing one of the main purposes in life, which is to serve one another. Let us not only live for those who matter most, our family, friends, and career, but rather let us take a step further and live for all humankind. For all of humankind are connected, no matter our race, gender, age, or social status, by the circle of life. The next time you encounter that everyday individual, please take the time to extend the conversation beyond the word hello. Such a simple act may open the door for you to assist someone who will soon experience trauma, is currently experiencing the aftershocks of trauma, or is in the process of recovery.